Hey there, welcome to Board Game Hot Takes. My name's Tim.
And this is Chris.
This is Adam.
And today we're going to be talking about the top 5 games that we only played once in 2023. This is a series that we started last year, and we thought it was really fun conversation. But we're going to be looking at games that were fantastic, but we only played them once. We, for some reason, haven't gotten them back to the table again, but we want to really badly. So we're going to jump in with our top 5 list here. The day this episode releases is Christmas Day. So happy holidays, Merry Christmas if you celebrate, and thanks for joining us on this snowy, bright, cheerful day or sometime in the near future after that.
Merry Christmas, everybody. Snowy is, I don't know, that's a bit of a stretch. I'm here in Southern California, and it's actually the 11th, and it was like 80, yesterday it was like 80 degrees, so we'll see how it is on Christmas.
Yeah, here in Portland, we're more likely to have rain. But Merry Christmas anyway.
Merry Christmas.
Happy holidays.
Snowy for a lot of people. We got a big contingent of Canadian listeners, I'm sure. So, well, some of them will be experiencing snow today. All right. Well, we're going to jump right into our list. Again, we did this last year, had a great time talking through the games. Gives us a good chance to revisit some of the things that we loved, but haven't gotten a lot of replays on. And we're going to do the same thing this time. Hopefully, we've all had a chance to play some of these again in the near future.
My number 5 is a game Chris introduced to us at our last get-together up in Portland. This is Robot Quest Arena. I had so much fun playing this game. It is a deck-building kind of tabletop skirmish game with these cute little pre-painted robots. They're not even miniatures. They're like toys. They're like plasticky toys that you would want to buy and kind of like duke it out with. Like, I don't know, Battle Beasts or something. I remember that from back in the day. Just great little plasticky toys running around on this map. So you're building your deck. If you've done any kind of these Star Realms, any of the kind of Realms game, Star Wars, a deck building game, any kind of deck building, you'll know these basic actions that are on these cards. There's the purchase power that each card has, the attack power, the movement power. So each card has some variation of those. You're trying to buy better weapons with these cards. You're moving your little guys around, getting in position to use your weapon. If you're not sure what you're doing, we'll all line up, and then Chris can laser beam us with one shot and destroy everybody on the board. The scorekeeping mechanism for this game was pretty neat. If you finish somebody off, you get 2 crystals. And I think if you do whatever amount of damage to somebody, you get however much damage you did. So however much damage you did plus a little bonus crystal for finishing somebody off gives you incentive to wipe somebody off the board. And you know you're going to get wiped out if you're playing this game, but that's okay. You respawn wherever you respawn, and you go and fight the next guy. So a fun blast them up, shoot them up deck building game, Robot Quest Arena. Thank you so much for bringing this one to Portland, Chris.
I'm so glad that you guys enjoyed this one, and I hope it was enough that you guys can forgive me for Lords of Ragnarok. I feel like I have a lot of penance to do for that one.
Yeah, I actually love this too. This almost made my list along with like 20 other games, because apparently I'm not replaying enough games, because this was a hard list to make this week, but Robot Quest Arena was high on it, and I'm really excited to get back to this. Chris, have you played this since Portland?
Yes, I played it with my son. He likes this game. He's pretty good at it, and we have a lot of fun playing it. And it's got a pretty easy setup too.
Awesome. I was walking through the Board Game Geek Con library, and this was sitting on the shelf at one point. I was with some friends. It was 3 of us. We were going to pick a game. I was like, hey, you guys want to try this one? This is really fun. And like, we've never heard of it. So I should have just picked it. I was tempted to. I ended up picking Outlive that day, which worked out pretty well as well. But I think this would have been a good hit for the group.
Wrong choice. Wrong choice, Tim.
You knew Adam would say that.
All right, well, my number 5 is a game I just played a few weeks ago with some friends. This is called Egizia Shifting Sands. This is a little bit older game, and then it had a reprint, I think a Kickstarter reprint a year or 2 ago. And this is designed by Flaminia Prezzini, Virginia Gigli, Stefano Leperto, and Antonio Tinto. So it's some of these Italian designers that we often play some combination of their games with. This one is interesting. It was not really on my radar, but my friends wanted to give it a try, and I'm so glad I did. This is one of these games. Okay, the one you guys probably know the most is like Parks, where you basically have a path and you decide how far you want to go down that path and get the action from it. And I've played a number of games in that with that mechanism, and most of them are just okay for me. Like, I like Parks a decent amount because it's a light, beautiful game that does that. But most of the time I always feel like, well, you know, there's no value to jumping ahead. Just take the next space, get the most actions you can out of a turn or whatever. Egizia managed to solve that for me, I think, in a couple interesting ways. This was a little bit heavier than most of the games we played in these series. But the way it would work is that on one side of it, you're basically, this is an Egyptian themed game, is you're going down this long river. On one side of the map is these cards that are laid out randomly every round. So the first person to get to that space gets the card on it. Nobody else can even take that action. On the other side of the river, there are some other benefits you would get or some other actions. But there was places that you had to be one of the first or one of the first two boats that got there. There was some where only one person was going to get that benefit. And some of the benefits could be drastically variable. And what was interesting, if somebody jumped down pretty far on the map and everyone else kind of sat back and, was just trying to take advantage of the ones that were skipped over, the person down at the south end of the map could just keep doing a bunch of actions in a row as well. So it was not an obvious choice as to whether you jump ahead quickly and get an important benefit to kind of build your engine and combo. I really like this game. The production, okay, so it's Egyptian themed, not super exciting to me, and the theme doesn't do anything. This is Stronghold. It looks like a Stronghold game. They don't know how to do a really cool dynamic production, and this is no difference, but it was a great game. I want to go back and play this one again. Really, really fun one for me.
It's colorful.
It's colorful. You say that, I'm looking at the board here, and some of the perspective artwork I think is pretty great. The pyramids and the obelisk and some of these columns, I think that's done pretty neat. And then you go over to the river and that looks like it doesn't really belong there. But the left side of that board looks pretty neat. Some of these pictures on Board Game Geek are making it look fantastic the way they do that perspective artwork.
Yeah, it works pretty well. And Chris, actually, you would know this one because you played, what's that old Egyptian block game that you like, the one where you're sending the blocks out to the pyramid?
Imhotep.
Yeah. So it's interesting because although this uses a different mechanism to get your building pieces there, it has some of the same like mini games that Imhotep does, where you're like trying to be the first one to build bricks out on the pyramid or first one to build in the obelisk. And depending on where you're building, you're going to get different scoring benefits for it. So it feels like a improved, more interesting version of Imhotep to me.
Okay.
But yeah, I get it, Adam. I mean, it's got perspective. It still doesn't make it a good looking game though.
Yeah, fair.
Anyway, it was fun. It was fun. It just, like I think that's probably been one of its biggest weaknesses, is just that the production isn't exciting, but I think it's a fantastic game. Super streamlined too. This is like, with these Italian designers, one of the great things that they do is they put some real mid-weight games out there that are not super complex, not super hard to learn or to get back to, but always very fun.
Well, you definitely, you made it sound more attractive to me with the comparison to Imhotep. And I mean, in terms of the mechanisms, not necessarily the Egyptian theme, but I do like Imhotep. And so that does make it sound more appealing. And I'm actually going to stay in the same universe in terms of the design cruise there with my number 5 choice, which is Darwin's Journey, designed by Simone Luciani and Nestor Mangone and published by Thundergriff Games. This is a game that we did a review of a few months ago, and I really liked it. I enjoyed it a lot. I think this is the game that I wanted Origin of the Species to be. It had some really neat dynamic aspects. I like there was a track along the bottom where your boat is moving throughout the Galapagos Islands and allowing you to put ashore in various places. And once you get ashore, then you move along these tracks and you get these really powerful benefits, which I thought were just super fun, almost like a little tech track, but it's in the form of a path around the island where you're going and evaluating things and discovering things and finding new species. And there's the mechanisms where you're taking these samples that you find, these various specimens, and shipping them back to the museum for categorization and cataloging and scoring some big points that way. And my goodness, it's even got a little bit of area control. Who can put the most stamps on an envelope? That is one of the weirdest things I've ever seen in a game. It's like, if I put more stamps on for it's going to go where I want it to go, not where you want it to go. But anyway, super fun game. This is actually a really good reminder to me of just what an odd situation we find ourselves in as game reviewers, because we play so many games and so many of them are very good games, but there's only so much time to play them.
Yeah.
And so there may be a game like this that I would happily play anytime that I just don't get the time to play again, or the money. I mean, you have to invest in so many games to be able to play these a second time, because none of us really wants to go on TTS and play these games. And if they're not on BGA, then what else are you going to do? But anyway, I digress. Darwin's Journey, great game, lots of fun. I would love to play this one again.
Yeah, Chris, I can't agree with you on this one. I don't remember too much about it other than it was just incredibly boring. There's so many other games. It didn't do anything special or stand out that I can recall. And there's so many other games that I'd rather spend more time. It wasn't horrible or anything, but yeah, I'd rather just go play Barrage.
So I probably won't be playing it again with Adam.
I 100% disagree with Adam on this one. This almost made my list as well. Wonderful game. I loved it. I was watching through BGG Con and saw this on several tables, and every time I was like, oh, I wish I was sitting there playing it right now. Super fun game. I want to get back to it. I heard there's an expansion. Somebody, I don't remember where I heard this, but somebody reviewed it recently and said if you don't play with the expansion, you're not getting the real experience. You need to. I don't know what that expansion is. I'm sure we didn't play with it, but I had a great time with just the base game. Also, Chris, it wasn't about who can put the most stamps on a letter. It's how many correspondences you sent to somebody, to like a patron, that you could get a benefit from them. So
you sure about that?
Oh, that's way more exciting. That's way better.
I know that it was represented by stamp, by like postage that you stacked up, but the idea was that you were just sending more like letters to one person, and then you'd get the benefit from that person.
Yeah, I maintain that it was about that whoever puts the most stamps on the letter, it goes where they want it to go. I insist.
What was the other exciting thing about this game? You get to put your monocle on a space or something? That was the other...
No, that was the dry part about it. The fun part about it was that you're kind of adventuring on these islands and racing around to collect these specimens. There was a lot of fun things going on here. Oh, it was the wax seals. Like if you got to make your workers better by like training them, essentially teaching them in different arts. And I would have bought this game and I would own it if I didn't already own Anachrony, which does some of the same types of like building up your workers, and different workers do different things. I just don't need another heavy worker placing it. It's a fantastic game, Chris. You're right on. And this is where Adam, you just missed the mark on this one completely.
I even love the theme. I'm waiting for the right game with evolution. That just hasn't happened yet. Anyway, my number 4 game is Revive. This is one Tim has played a bunch, to my envy. I don't know if that's the right way to say that, but this is a beautiful looking game. The designer is Helgi Meissner, Christian Amundsen Osby, Elf Svensson, and Anna Wormland. 2 of these guys make capital looks too. Just want to let you know that, Chris. And the art is artists. A team of artists did this one. It's by Aporta Games. Just the player board alone is fantastically cool on this game. It's like a tech track's right on there. The tech track is what's neat to me. You're bouncing along. Are you going to go this way? You're going this way. Are you going to join these 2 to unlock this cool thing? I like how that buildup goes. I love how the map reveals itself. Initially, it's this ice cap looking thing, and then the planet's warming up. We're coming out of our little underground hiding spots and warming up the land and going ice fishing and building buildings and doing stuff out there. And this icy planet turns into this warm, hospitable world as we're going along. And then you go and you find some crystal skulls, which makes a lot of sense. And you get bonuses for that too. Anyway, a game I remember having lots of fun playing, racing for those corners, getting your bonuses, doing some fun stuff. That's Revive.
Yeah, awesome game. And I'm still shocked, actually. I brought this game to Portland and nobody picked it. And I was disappointed, but I had so many other games I wanted to play too. But we'll next time we all get together, we'll get this one played again. Yeah. I've played it a lot since then.
Yeah, I have a feeling this one could have made it onto all 3 of our lists if we were allowing ourselves to do that.
Well, I have played it more than once in 2023, so it wouldn't have made my list, Chris.
Well, you could have cheated and put it on anyway.
All right. Well, my number 4 is a game by one of my favorite designers. This is Evacuation by Vladimir Sushi and published by Delicious Games. And I talked about this in our BGG Con episode a few weeks back. I was really excited about it. It was the game I most wanted to play at that convention. And it's stuck with me. 3 weeks after we recorded that episode, I'm still thinking about it. I want to go back and play it again. Still don't know how well it's going to stick, but one play in is not enough. I want to get back to this one and play it some more and see if it becomes one that is worth revisiting over and over again. But I definitely want to revisit a second time. So Evacuation. Oh, and just a little bit about it. That is a game where you're basically trying to leave Earth because the sun's about to overheat and explode and move to another habitable planet. And it's an interesting game about planning, very hard planning without too complex of mechanisms. Really had fun with this one though.
Yeah, this one don't know much about it other than I thought you were sort of lukewarm on it, Tim.
I wouldn't say that. I just said that I didn't know that it was going to be something you could go back to a lot.
Okay.
But I want to go back to it another time at least and see if the experience changes or feels differently. The more I think about it, I think there is an opportunity for it to feel like a tight competitive game. One of these games that you, every time you play it with the group of people that know it, you're going to find ways to kind of like squeeze in. Like I would have said the same thing about Barrage. Like, I don't know how replayable this is. It feels like you're doing the same actions, but that game is infinitely replayable because of the competition with the other people on the board. I'm hopeful that Evacuation has a bit of that. I'm not sure it does, but I'd like to try it at least one more time and see how it goes.
All right, my number 4 game is a light, fun little romp called Ticket to Ride San Francisco, designed by Alan R. Moon and published by Days of Wonder. This is a game that I played for the first time when I was camping with my family last summer, and my sister and her husband, who are both very much non-gamers, happened to have a copy of this game. And I mean, of course, I know Ticket to Ride. I haven't played OG Ticket to Ride, though. I've never played the original, but I was dying to try it because this is another one of those situations where I feel like there's a hole to plug in my gaming experience, and what a great opportunity. And, you know, I was foisting my board games upon them, so it was a great opportunity to, you know, return the favor and play something that they had and that they liked and that I could try out as well. And I had a blast playing it. I mean, everybody kind of knows the concept. You're building rail lines. You're trying to connect them to fulfill goals and getting points for completing your lines. And this one, it's fun because it's got San Francisco rail cars, you know, the trolley cars and that kind of fun stuff going on. It was just delightful and fun and easy, and it was something you could play in a half an hour. It's like a 1.67 complexity rating on BGG, but still enough interesting decisions to make that you can have a good fun time playing it as long as you're not looking for something too heavy. And honestly, one of the things that I found particularly charming was the San Francisco theme, because it had funny little things in these tokens you get that are like artifacts. I think they call them souvenirs that you can use for points and set collection. And then like a bowl of chowder and, you know, like a seagull or something like that. You know, these little things that remind you of San Francisco. And I've spent a ton of time there for work over the years. And so I had this really fond connection to all the different places in the game. And there were so many different versions of Ticket to Ride that there's probably a pretty good chance that if you lived anywhere near a large city, there's some version of Ticket to Ride out there that's going to be equally charming and nostalgic to you as well. So a great game, lots of fun, a neat implementation in the San Francisco version, especially if you're someone who loves San Francisco like I do. And I would happily play this one again. Maybe I'll play it when I see my family at camp again next year.
Chris, a great pick. This is one I just recently bought for a friend of the family's, their kid's birthday. I gave it as a gift, so hopefully they're enjoying it. But I think I saw it and I was like, somebody loves this game. I can't remember who it is, but I'm going to pick it up. Ticket to Ride, what a fun system and a fun game. I haven't played in a while, but I would love to go back to any Ticket to the Ride and play it. It's a neat little game system.
Yep.
So they just released Ticket to Ride Legacy, Legends of the West. So, you know,
saw that.
Obviously, Alan R. Moon was the designer, but then Rob Davio and Matt Leacock got involved at all. So what a cool design team on this one.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Man, I want to play this so bad. My parents are huge Ticket to Ride fans, and so I'm kind of waiting to see. I'm hoping they didn't pick it up and buy it really quickly. Mom and Dad, if you're listening, don't listen right here because I probably want to pick it up for a gift.
Well, it's not gonna be. This episode's not coming out till Christmas, so I think you're safe.
No, good point. Good point. All right, great. So yeah, I think I will have to pick it up. I was trying to shop for it the other day. I got to see if it's not sold out everywhere, but I'm going to try to grab this for them. Looks really fun though. I've heard great things about the new Legacy version. And by the way, I'm going to San Francisco in just a few months again. One of my favorite cities on the planet, and I'm so excited. We're going to bring our daughter for the first time. She's 12 years old, and can't wait to explore the city with her a little bit.
Nice.
If you get a chance, Tim, go to, I think it's called City Games or Cityscape Games in San Francisco, a little board game shop with an amazing collection of games. I was there, and that's where they had Quantum on the shelf. I almost picked it up, and they're now impossible to find Quantum, and I didn't do it. It was like $50, and I didn't pick it up. Now it's $150, but a cool little game shop in the heart of San Francisco.
Nice. I will definitely check that out. Thanks for the recommendation. The one thing I've never done there is go to Alcatraz, which I always wanted to and just never planned the tours. But I definitely am going to, when our daughter's going with us, we're going to make a trip over there. I think
it's very cool. It's worth the trip.
Nice.
My number 3 game, and a game we've been hyping up a lot because we played it at Portland Con again. This is Battle for Rokugan. I've really only played it once. That was with you guys. It was a blast. This is by Molly Glover and Tom Jolly, with beautiful art by Matthias Kohlroas and a team of 3 more, published by Fantasy Flight Games. This is another one. It's currently hard to find, out of print. I think it's selling for ridiculous amounts on eBay. It's like $100. Noble Knight has it for $200. But there's versions out there. Well, maybe there isn't too many versions out there. Tim's had trouble trying to find it. Anyway, this is fun. There's a bunch of chits. You hide them behind your faction screen that has some sort of asymmetric power, lightly asymmetric. You're drawing from these chits, and you have like 6 of them, and you're putting them out there each round, taking your turns and trying to outwit your opponents. What I remember is getting outwitted by Tim at every turn of this game, but I had so much fun getting just smacked around in Battle for Rokugan. A quick playing, fun little secret reveal at the end of each round. Little board game, little area control board game, Battle for Rokugan.
Absolutely wonderful game. And I think a ton of people have this in other shelves because like one of the big board game reviewers, when it came out like 5 years ago, raved about it. It was like their game of the year. And then everybody bought it, but nobody played it because it's in this little box and it's like an IP game that nobody's heard about. And so it's probably sitting on a ton of hoarder shelves. One of you hoarders out there, have it sitting on your shelf. Just, I'll buy your copy for you. At retail price. You don't want it.
Yeah, how is it nobody's talking about this game? It's such a fun game.
Yeah, it's just, like the production is kind of, middling, and it's a theme. It's an IP game that, again, nobody's heard about. So Legend of the Five Rings or something like that. So yeah, I think it's a wonderful game. Can't wait to play it somewhere. Good pick, Adam.
Yeah.
All right, my number 3 is, so I mentioned last week that my local game group has become obsessed, like it seems like the entire planet has, with weird Japanese trick takers. And Portland Gaming Collective, I think that's the name of it, but there's this group out of Portland that's like going out and finding all these games and getting them published and getting them distributed in the United States. I'm telling you guys, this is like a whole culture thing.
Yeah.
Right now, my weekly game night, we're playing with one of these every week. Like there's some weird trick taker we're playing every week. And I'm fine with that. I'm cool. I don't know how many trick takers we need to include in our regular gameplay, but it's fun. It's fine to explore them. But my favorite of them that we've played so far is this game called Boast or Nothing. This game has 2 things going for it. Number 1, it's got the weirdest artwork and theme that you've ever seen. It's basically a cloud that's going through all kind of like macho dude nonsense. Like he's basically trying to show he's the best cloud ever. So he's like in a prize fight, or he's like wearing all kinds of bling or whatever. But it's just weird, goofy artwork. But I think what I like the most about it compared to a lot of these other trick takers that are trying to do unique stuff is that it feels like a traditional trick taker. It's basically 3 suits. You have to follow the lead suit if you can. And it plays like a traditional trick taker. What's unique about it is that the trump suit changes every round. It's 3 suits, yellow, blue, and red. And basically whichever suit won the last round goes to the bottom of the pile. And so now it's this little stack of the 3 colored chips. And then whichever one, didn't win, then that's going to be at the top. So you're kind of playing with this hand of cards every round, and you can try to plan for what is going to win this round so that you know what the trump's going to be on the next round. Maybe that's going to help you set up. I had a blast playing this game. Super fun. I love these trick takers. They're great. But this one I think felt the most kind of approachable for me to just jump into as somebody who played Hearts for years. And I really liked it. Funny, quirky theme. Boast or Nothing, and a game I can't wait to get back to. I think it's out of print or not available in the United States right now. But again, this group is constant. Like I swear to God, my weekly planning text thread about just like setting up our Thursday game night has more conversation about Japanese trick takers than anything else right now. And I think they mentioned recently that this one is going to be reprinted or distributed in the US again in the near future. So hopefully more people will get to explore this one. I loved it. Super fun time.
So last week I talked about Cosmic Frog, and I'm like, it doesn't get any weirder than that. But I'm looking at this and I'm like, what the hell? What is this even about? Why is this cloud growing a giant handlebar mustache and going to the barber shop and sitting in a beach chair on a desert island. I am absolutely dumbfounded by this game in the best way possible.
So that's one of the things about the artwork is that there's this cloud that's got a mustache on all the time, and like he's always trying to show how rich he is. So like one of the cards has literally it's just his mustache on a toilet paper hanger with a dollar bills as the toilet paper. So I mean it's the goofiest dumb stuff, and what a weird choice for the main character there. But yeah, it was super fun. Every time I like had my hand of cards, I was just cracking up.
I would love to play this one, Tim. What a great pick.
Yeah. I don't know if I'd love to play it. I'd love to look at the cards.
Chris, I thought you were the biggest trick taker.
Yeah, that's
trick taking fan.
That's what Adam tells me. That I'm like I'm the new ringleader when it comes to trick takers. Maybe
that's right.
Maybe I'll become part of this subculture of Japanese trick taking games.
You live in Portland, dude. That's where it's centered. That's like you got the biggest access to trick takers there in Portland than anyone in the United States does.
Seriously, I need to start taking advantage of that.
And IPAs.
Yeah. So my number 3 is not nearly as quirky as that one, but I have a feeling it's just as fun. And that is the Quacks of Quedlinburg, designed by Wolfgang Warsch and published by Arclight Games. This has got a little bit of airtime on our show. You guys did a review of it. I think you did a review with Kubitos. I was not on that episode. And then we played it again. Adam and Steve and I did before you got there at our most recent Portland con. And I had such a fun time with this game. This is one of the ones that kind of cemented in my mind that bag building is one of my favorite mechanisms. I love it. It's so much fun. For those who haven't played, basically you're working on a cauldron, which is a big spiral with a bunch of circles in that spiral. And you keep pulling these tokens out of your bag, putting them in your pot. And each one is an ingredient that has some different kind of effect. It may be a beneficial effect. It may be a problematic effect. And they synergize in certain ways so that you really want to try to get certain ingredients out together at the same time. But you're also risking pulling out things that are going to destroy your potion and turn it into a big pile of poop. And so you're really pushing your luck, trying to get those right combos out without pushing your luck too far and getting the cherry bombs or...
Yeah, they're cherry bombs.
That's right.
Yeah, it's so much fun. A great game. I've only played it that one time at Portland Con, but this is one that I hope that we'll see again sometime at one of the next cons. Or I would love it if they would put this one on BGA. This seems like one that might lend itself to play on BGA, and that would also be equally fun. But either way, I want to get this one played again.
Yeah, Chris is another great pick. I played this one when we did the review on Tabletop Simulator. I wasn't too high on it then, but when we played it in person, it struck a different chord, a great chord with me. I had so much fun playing this one with you guys. I'll be happy to play this one anytime.
Awesome game. You're right. It would be great on Board Game Arena, but yeah, this is a game I've probably played 50 times at this point and love going back to it every time I can. Every time, it's one of these games that I don't ask for a lot, but every time I'm playing it, I'm like, man, I wish I was playing this more. This is such a fun game.
All right, my number 2 is Mosaic, a story of civilization. I've talked about this one a few times. This is a civilization builder centered around the Mediterranean, but for some reason it works for me in this case. I like that it has a tag system. It's card based, right? There's a lot of cards you're doing, and these cards let you build stuff or move some boats around or do this or do that, move some arms around. But it has the tag system that a lot of games are using now, like in Ark Nova or Terraforming Mars. So you kind of get these tags. And it has these scoring cards that come out as these different decks of cards come out too, that might come out at awkward times and make the scoring a little bit weird. You might get caught behind if you don't hit it at the right time. But a lot of fun things came out of our play of Mosaic, a story of civilization. And I would love to go back to this one and play it a bunch.
Yeah, I love this game. Chris, I think you'd like this. I don't think you got a chance to play this one with us, but it's weird. It's just like, it's pretty simple. It's a bunch of different rivers of cards that you get to choose from on your turn, and you're basically just picking up cards if you match the conditions of the cards you needed before it. But most of the time, you're not even paying anything for it. But there is a weird economy that's going on, a little bit of area control out on this board. I don't remember how it all works, but I had a great time playing it. I can't wait to go back to it. All right, my number 2 game is a game by one of my favorite designers, Vladimir Suchy. which I mentioned already with Evacuation. But this was a little bit older game, Pulsar 2849. I talked about it on the table, I don't know, a month or two back. I loved it. And it's a sci-fi themed dice drafting game, very tight, you don't have many turns in the game. So every decision matters, a little bit of area control, a little bit of engine building, technologies you can buy. I had a great time playing this game. Luckily, I own it, so I will be hoping to get this played again, but only one play so far. I think it's a classic. It's so streamlined and straightforward with lots of interesting things going on. And this is one that will definitely come to a BJHTCon so that I can introduce you guys to it. Probably the most streamlined Vladimir Suchy game that we've played. Fun, tight decisions every time. Love it.
This one I've had my eye on forever, Tim. I think I mentioned to you here and there throughout the years, and you finally picked it up. I'm excited about it. I can't wait to try this one, even though it is dice drafting. I heard it does it in a cool way, maybe a la something like La Granja. Anyway, looking forward to playing with this one and getting my gyrodynes spinning.
Yeah, that's right. Don't completely understand exactly what the theme of this is, but there are something about building gyrodynes out in the universe and getting them spinning.
Sounds cool.
Yeah, that's a theme. And speaking of themes, my next game is super duper theme heavy. My number 2 game. Just kidding. It's actually not. It's a Trick Taker. Can you believe that? I'm actually picking a Trick Taker as my number 2 game that I've only played once that I want to play again.
I knew it.
Cat in the Box, which is another one that we played when we were at our most recent Portland Con. In fact, I think that was another one that we got played right before Tim got there. So
it seems like, Chris, that you really enjoy games when I'm not in them. That's what I'm hearing tonight.
No, I think it was more like we were just all so high. Maybe the game wasn't even that great. We were just so high on, just the con was starting and everything was fun. But no, I think this is actually a super fun game. We really enjoyed this one. I really enjoyed this one. I was very skeptical because Trick Takers I have historically been skeptical of, but like so many things in game world, I am learning to open my mind about it. In this one, I joke about the lack of theme here, but actually I did find the theme of this one tickling the back of my brainstem as I was playing, and I'm thinking about Schrodinger's cat in quantum mechanics. And interestingly, this is a theme that got worked into the game. The fact that when you don't actually have a suit on your card until you play it, which is sort of an analogy to quantum mechanics. So I found it really charming, really interesting, really fun. Probably of the Trick Takers that I've seen, maybe Shamans being the other one that I would actually welcome playing and would find myself seeking out maybe.
Chris, another great pick. This is a game that I own. I've played it many, many times. I think that bet at the beginning of the round is a fun choice. Are you going to go low? Or are you going to go a little bit higher? And then that little, I don't know if it's a little area control, but you're putting little cubes out on the number and suit as you declare it, and you try to line up your little cubes so that if you do match that bet that you made way back at the beginning of the round, you get a little bonus for how many orthogonally adjacent cubes that you have. Like that adds a nice little twist to a fun little Trick Taker.
Yeah, that's my favorite part about it. I can't believe how bad I am at this game, but I still want to go back and keep playing. And I picked this one up, Adam, since I played it with you. Wonderful game. It's one that I'll revisit anytime.
Great. My number 1 game that I've only played one time and would love to play again, not quite as quick as Cat in the Box. This is Hegemony. Lead your class to victory. I have raved about this one a few times since we played it. This game is listed as taking only 90 to 180 minutes.
Only?
I think that's a bit of a fib. I think it's a bit of a fib. I think it took us 3-hour sessions or something like that, or
weeks, months, years.
Yeah, I think our full playtime was about 7 hours.
So yeah, it took us a bit more time than that. And what I've been hearing, I think you could get it down to, maybe you could get this thing down to 4 hours, 5 hours. It's going to take an afternoon of your time, but I'm just looking at it. This production is phenomenal. You've got this amazing color scheme on this board that's relatively simple. The way this information is, I've talked about this, the way the information is presented, the way you can parse it so quickly. You've got these heavily asymmetric factions that you're playing. It's a game of civics and economics and politics. It teaches you about the governments of the world, different states. I mean, states as in, different governments, different political systems of the way countries run themselves. Like maybe something is analogous to the situation in Israel right now. Maybe you see something like what's going on while there is no full-on war in this game, you see that there's a lot of political pressure that can be applied. Or you look at systems where the capitalist class is putting pressure on the working class. And what were you, Chris? I forget what you guys were. You guys were the white collar.
I was the middle class.
The middle class is also working together with the working class. And you have the government, which Tim was trying to incentivize people to do these things. And he's trying to get the political alignment. Maybe this term it's shifted where we want to have no taxes on anything. And he's going for goals where the immigration probably want to close the borders for whatever reason. Next term, now I want the borders wide open and I want to have tons of taxes and I'm going to incentivize this. So you see all these different motivations that these different groups have in a society and how it all plays out, how they kind of fight together sometimes and work together sometimes. And you're like, this is the situation that happened in the 60s, or this is exactly what's happening right now. All these scenarios pop up in a game. Yeah. And it's a game. It's fun because you get to pay taxes, right, Chris? At the end of every round, you're doing your tax, you're finding what tax bracket you're in and you got to pay the government. Even that was fun for me in this game. So much to learn, so much to do in Hegemony. Lead your class to victory. I think it is an absolute triumph of a board game. I have it sitting here on my table behind me. I'm going to bust it out at some point and spend 8 hours playing all 4 factions, learning all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, this was a great game. I can't wait to play it again at some point in the future. It's a big, heavy, long running game, but it's very fun. It was fun for me.
So I'm going to bring 3 games to our next con. I
think we're calling this one Adam Con.
Fractal, John Company, and Hegemony, and that's all we're going to do. Day 1, day 2, day 3.
I think you might have to pick between John Company and Hegemony. No, I said this in the review, and I'll say it again. It is impressive how they managed to take a very deep civics lesson and turn it into a functional board game. Whether it's fun or not depends on your tolerance for things like getting out the calculator to do your taxes. I would definitely give it another try, though. I liked it enough that I think it's worth a second shot, and it definitely is an impressive accomplishment.
I know. I hear you.
I have to say though, Adam, as much as I'm willing to try all 3 of these games, like you got to remember we only have 5 days. We want to get more than 5 games. And so you gotta take some picks here. All right. Well, my number 1 game is by far the game that's been on my mind since we played it the most. That was Cyclades Legendary Edition. We played this right when the Kickstarter was out this year. This was designed by Bruno Catala, one of my favorite designers. There has not been a game that Bruno Catala has designed that I haven't absolutely loved. And this version is published by Open Sesame Games. This is an area control game with a big auction at the front where you're kind of bidding on which of the actions you're going to take. The actions rotate. There's fun, little tiny skirmishes, little conflicts that happen in there. Not very impactful, but enough that it's fun to see how those dice roll. There's big monsters. There's this card market of cards that you can purchase from that are going to give you one-time effects, or these monsters you're going to put on the board. Love it. Love the production. Love the look and feel of this game. It's my biggest regret. The one game that I didn't back on Kickstarter, and I wish I had, just because I want it coming soon. I'm going to buy this when it's in retail. I'm just anti-Kickstarter. I wasn't going to pay another $60 for shipping or whatever it was, but I cannot wait to play this game again. I cannot remember which of you two made it that night. Was that you that joined us, Adam?
I was there. Yeah, I played it. I enjoyed it too.
So Adam didn't get a chance to play this game, but I really love this game. I had so much fun with it. I think I lost big on this one too, but I cannot wait to go back and play this again. One of my favorite big troops on a map area control games that I've ever played.
It was a good one. It was a lot of fun. I think that was a big Steve victory that night.
Yeah, I think you're right.
This is one, if I had remembered to think about it, I probably would have put it on my list from last week. Most want to play that I haven't played. So I'm looking forward very much to playing this one. Whenever you get it in your hands, Tim, I can't believe you're not going to splurge for a Kickstarter edition. Maybe they'll have it at one of the game stores. We got to get all this stuff if we're going to play this one.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it was one of those situations where I kind of dug, like, they did all these kind of unique custom meeples that were totally nice sculpts and everything. And I didn't think I needed all that gray plastic. So I kind of almost want the retail edition, except that the big monsters that only come up a few times during the game, they were going to be cardboard standees. And that was the downfall. Like, if they could have done like the monsters as minis and then the rest of the components as meeples, I would have been pretty happy with that. I probably will just pick up the retail edition of this. I think it'll be super fun still.
All right. Well, my number one game is another example of trying to, break out of my box a little bit and do things that are a little bit different. This is a game that I did not expect to like at all. It is not a style of game that I particularly enjoy playing. It's a party game. And I generally dislike party games. They are not something that I'm very into, but this one blew me away. It is Challengers, designed by Johannes Krenner and Marcus Slavacek, and published by Z-Man Games. I played this one at a recent game weekend back in October, and I mentioned this one on the show, but it absolutely shocked me. Basically, it's capture the flag, but it's separated out into a number of different games that are played simultaneously. So hopefully you have a big player count. I don't think you have to, but it probably is best at a higher player count. We played with 8 people, and so there were 4 boards going and constantly rotating from board to board. And it's this very, very simple, very basic deck building mechanism where you play a card and then you put them out, and there's the different cards have different effects. And then whoever gets to the flag first, by which it means whoever doesn't run out of cards gets the flag. And then they move on. They get some kind of a point chit, and they move on to the next game. The loser doesn't get the point chit. They move on to their next game. But each player also gets an opportunity to manipulate their deck. They get to draw cards out of these boxes, and there's different boxes, different powers of cards based on how far along you are in the tournament. And you get to pull out a certain number of cards, and then you can replace cards in your deck if you want to, or you don't have to. And it's really kind of up to you. But you get to build up your deck and make it more effective, like any good deck builder. And then you keep going from game to game until the end, and whoever has the most points at the end of that from winning the various rounds is the winner of the game. But it was super quick. I mean, these individual matches probably took less than 5 minutes apiece. And you bounce from match to match, so you're constantly changing opponents. Your deck is changing the whole time. And when you got toward the end of it, everybody's rooting and cheering and watching the big final games. And it was a blast. And it also added in some really fun, light, mild deck building that was still interesting and gave you some stuff to think about. And I just love deck building. So if I'm going to play a party game, period, I think this is the one that I would want to play. Tim, you said you played this one at BGG-Con. What did you think about the concept of playing this with a smaller player count? Do you think that would work?
I think it would work fine. I think it'd just go quicker. I know it plays down to like 4 or even 3 players. They have a way to I think you're right though. Having a bigger group was just fun because you just get to play more people to get through the tournament. Mm-hmm. But if you played 4 players, you could just do a couple tournaments in the same amount of time. I think one of the things I wanted to mention is that when you're deck building, basically the decks you're pulling from, they have a few different themes. And so it's kind of like if you can try to synergize, if you get lucky and get, maybe there's a pirate theme. So if you get lucky and get a few cards that are in the pirate theme, they'll kind of synergize together. So it's just kind of fun. The cards that you're randomly pulling out of there, oh, that goes really well with this other card in my deck. Well, they just released a standalone expansion for Challengers, which adds a bunch of additional kind of factions. So the idea then, once you have the expansion, is that instead of playing, the same group of cards every time, maybe you're playing with 3 of the 6 that are available. And so every time it's going to be a different combination of cards that come up. So it'll just add some variability to it. I love that. I think it's great that they're continuing to support and expand this game because it was a lot of fun. I hope you pick this up, Chris. Let's try it at 4 players, or let's get it out to a game shop and pull some other random people into it and and play 8 players the next time we're at BGHTCon. This would be a great Saturday night game after dinner.
Yeah.
That sounds great, guys. I'm in on this one. I have no clue what it's about other than what you guys have said about it. It looks super fun. Can't wait to try this one.
All right, cool. Well, that was the top 5 games that we only played once in 2023, but we're excited to play some more. So this episode released on Christmas Day. Happy holidays. Our next episode is going to release on New Year's Day, so no one's going to listen to that one either. So we can basically be ourselves the next 2 weeks. We don't have to say anything smart. Nobody's going to hear these episodes. But if you did hear it, thanks for joining us. Hope you had a nice holidays. Until next week, take care, everybody.
Good night, all.
Bye-bye.